WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful Tuesday, almost 70 degrees here in Nashville. And we're at our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. We're condensing a lot of stuff today because we give way early, like 4:15 for Vanderbilt baseball. Who are they playing today, Billy?
Tennessee Tech.
Okay. So that's sort of what we got going on. Here we go quick. Kelly Holcomb is back. Kelly, say hello.
What's up, man? Got dark circles a little bit. Need of sleep.
We're going to find out about that later. Billy, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, so much for the formalities. Let's get right to it. This has been a busy day up at the Combine in Indianapolis. Terry McCormick is up there. This was the Titans' day at the microphone, so to speak. Terry, what did you learn?
Well, George, a lot of things, certainly that the Titans, not saying as far as what they want to do with the number one pick, certainly still open there, not saying anything concrete yet about the quarterback position. But one thing that does stand out, and they're saying that it is going to be a priority, and that is to fix the offensive line and get the offensive line and the defensive lines improved on this roster as soon as possible. I think that was really kind of an underlying theme while everybody else was wanting to ask about quarterbacks and how many calls they'd had about the number one pick. Both Mike Morganzi and Brian Callahan were in lockstep talking about how they have got to fix the offensive line this offseason and that all options are on the table for that.
Do you get any sense of whether other teams are coming to the table with, hey, we want the first pick and here's the boatload of picks we'll give you to get it?
Well, Morganzi said he had fielded some phone calls about the number one pick, but those talks have not really heated up yet. If they want to move off the number one pick, I think that will intensify over the next 2 to 3 weeks to a month. A lot of people thinking that because it's not necessarily a strong quarterback draft, that the Titans might not get the haul for that number one pick that a team normally would in that position. I guess there are two ways to look at it. If somebody really loves one of those guys, they could spend a king's ransom to go up and get them because there aren't as many as there were, like, say, last year when there were 6 guys taken in the first 12 picks at quarterback. On the other hand, on the flip side of that, the hard sell for the Titans is, well, if the Titans, given their quarterback situation, don't want Cam Ward or don't want Shedeur Sanders, why should we jump up there and give them a boatload of picks in order to take one of those guys?
Terry, I know that really all you're trying to do is read through the tea leaves, and there's a lot of truths and half-truths and just outright lies that go on between now and the draft. Do you believe they've come to the conclusion that, hey, we're not drafting a quarterback? Not with the number one pick.
I don't think they're there yet. I think they have to do their due diligence. They're supposed to meet Cam Ward for the first time tomorrow and talk with him, and then it'll be their second meeting with Shedeur Sanders tomorrow. So you've got to go through. I mean, they probably have a good idea from watching the tape and from listening to what their scouts have told them about the personalities and the work ethics of these guys, whether or not, they're worthy of the number one overall pick. But you really can't make that decision concrete until, one, you interview the guy, you get to know him as a person to find out kind of what makes him tick as both a person and a football player. and 2, until you really, can see him work out and throw and do the things that you want to see a prospect do. And then 3, bring him into your building where he's on your terms, and you can kind of find out more by delving into him on one of those 30 visits that they talk about, where they're allowed to bring in 30 draft prospects for personal visits to kind of sit in the facility and watch film together and, go through different scenarios and those sorts of things.
Okay, let's try this one. Do you get any sense of what veteran quarterback is the leader in their clubhouse as far as, man, this is the one we want?
Well, I mean, that still has yet to be fleshed out, too, because you don't know who's going to be available. I talked to some people, talked to a guy connected to the Vikings today, and I think the Titans would have some interest in Sam Darnold if he got to the open market. But who knows if Minnesota's going to franchise tag him and then try to, trade him for picks, or if they're just going to let him walk away. The Vikings don't have a lot of draft picks in this year's draft. So it would make sense to tag Darnold and try to trade him for some draft capital. But on the other hand, if they, while they're waiting to trade him, if they tag him, that's $40 million onto their cap that would prevent them maybe from being able to sign some other need players that they might want to go after in free agency. Beyond that, I think with a Derek Carr or a Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford or somebody, you got to wait and see if they get to the open market. The rest of it, there are reclamation projects. There's Daniel Jones. There's, if you want to go veteran, you might use Russell Wilson for a year, but, he's certainly, I think, in the decline of his career, a lot like Cousins is, that you might not be getting what you think you're getting. So, to me, I think they have some guys in mind that they would like to go after, but they don't know exactly who's going to be available and won't know for a couple of more weeks.
Kelly, I know you're listening to all this. Anything you want to ask Terry?
I know you've told us this before, Terry, because I was thinking about it. But just for all the listeners that hadn't heard us about this, how deep is the lineman class in this draft class?
Well, it sounds like it's pretty decent, that there's maybe not a lot of superstar linemen out there, a lot of guys who are going to come in and just wow you the way maybe that a Joe Alt would have done in last year's draft. But it sounds like there's a lot of decent, good value players that can be had throughout, maybe from the late first round all the way maybe to the early third round. And I think that's where some of the value in this draft lies. And I think that's where the Titans would be wise to try and make some hay, and especially if they trade down and try to get back the third round pick they gave up for L'Jarius Sneed. I think that would certainly help them to try and replenish this line. I think they probably address it both free agency and the draft, but there's certainly some usable players there in this draft, guys that can come in and maybe play right away.
Terry, how many guys, like, it's become a thing now, like how many guys are not working out? And I don't know if you know the number, but all the projected first round picks, are they working out? Like Steve Hutchinson told me the other night when we were sitting at the table, because I was asking him about the combine, and he had to go because he's working with Seattle, and just asking him about stuff like that. And he was like, hey, Caleb Williams only met with a certain group of teams last year, because I understand that there's no sense about, because he was probably going in the top 3. He only met with three teams. So how many people are sitting this out? And it's become like a plague. I know when I was there, I went early and I threw with guys, and I needed it. I need some exposure because I was from a small school, but that's got to get annoying. And I don't know if you know a number, but how many guys are sitting out?
Yeah, I don't know an exact number, but you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you pointed out that how you went through and, kind of showed people what you could do. I think it's a lot like, the Senior Bowl when you're from that small school. If you need to be seen I think those guys are going to work out at the combine. They're going to go through all the drills. They're going to, demonstrate that they can have the talent and what it takes to play at this level. And if you're a guy sitting there like Shedeur Sanders, who's not going to work out at the combine, you really don't have anything to gain from it. So he's wise not to go head to head with Cam Ward and see Cam Ward throw the ball farther and faster than he can. He's wise to wait till his pro day when he's in a comfortable environment and throwing to people he's familiar with, like Travis Hunter and others, and getting to do the workout on his terms. Because if you don't have anything to gain from it, then the only thing you can do is drop in somebody's eyes, and that's not what you want.
Billy, anything on your end?
Terry, from talking to Borgonzi, look, it's got to be hard for you guys as reporters, and you probably don't get many answers. But have you learned anything else from him? Talking to him, I know you guys talked to him today and Callahan today. But if anything, what did you learn in talking to both of them?
Well, it sounds like that they realize it's not going to be, unless they just really hit on something, this is not going to be a quick fix type of situation. I think they're through trying to band-aid this thing on the offensive line and at different positions. I think they want to stabilize things this year and then start laying the foundation for something that can be good down the line in the next couple of years. That's not to say they don't want to win in 2025, but I think realistically they know that they're a long way from that right now. There's a lot of holes on this roster. And I think that, that's the reality of it. I think that, they're hoping that ownership shows the patience with them that they can build this thing for not just now, but for something that's sustainable for several years.
Yeah, good luck on that. Terry, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us. Great report from Indy.
Thanks for having me.
Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, TitanInsider.com. Okay, let's get right to the update. Billy, what do you got?
Right to it. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, mortgagelady.usa.com, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. The Lipscomb Bisons stay hot. They get a win in Clarksville last night, 95-78 over Austin Peay. They've won 7 of their last 8, and they remain tied for first in the A-Sun with North Alabama, but they do own the tiebreaker.
Thus, tomorrow night against Central Arkansas, big stuff. Kelly, I will be there. Do not send me a text about falling asleep.
I think I'm going too, so I'll probably be there as well. But you're right, man. They've gotten hot, and I love it. They lost a key part of their team, and the Dylan kid, I forget his last name, Dylan. Dylan Faulkner. But Dylan was a great defensive player. But they've picked up. That's what you have to do when a guy goes down like that. You have to pick things up, and they've done it.
Tonight, number 3 Florida at Georgia. Just about the last opportunity. I mean, Georgia's hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah.
So they could certainly use a big win. That's at 6 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, number 5 Tennessee at LSU. They're a 10.5-point favorite. Could be sneaky. I remember LSU a couple of years ago knocked off Vandy when no one expected it. LSU does have a few wins under their belt. We'll see if Tennessee can get through that. 8 o'clock tonight as well, number 6 Alabama against number 24 Mississippi State.
That will be an athletic dogfight. The fact that it's in Tuscaloosa is a huge advantage for Alabama. The game in Starkville went right to the wire. Bama won it, but not by much.
Before they head to Nashville, Missouri, number 14 Tigers host South Carolina tonight. Carolina got a win. If anybody didn't know, they beat Texas last Saturday. So South Carolina got their first win of the season. They'll play Missouri tonight. And a quick note, Dick Vitale will be on the call for Saturday's Alabama-Tennessee game. in Knoxville.
Nice. I love it.
Nice.
That's
That is
terrific.
great.
Saturday, it was a 3-man crew Saturday for Alabama, Kentucky. It was Ravitch, Jimmy Dykes, and Vitale. So I don't know if it's going to be those three in Knoxville again, but good. It's just good to hear his voice.
Oh,
back.
Absolutely. And he has had, as all of you know, voice issues. The cancer has involved his voice, and not that I ever had that, but when I had a polyp on the vocal cord, I know, when that happens, you realize that what we take for granted is pretty precious.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just, he's been talking about, he feels like he's in heaven right now, calling these games, able to be back calling basketball games. But speaking of basketball, got bubble talk going all around the country. North Carolina right now is one of the first 4 teams out. We've been talking about Hubert Davis. Well, they just agreed to a contract extension. And they actually agreed to it before this season. I don't know how this wasn't reported earlier.
Why the hell would they have waited, given all the crap he's caught? And let me say, I've been one of them. I thought they'd make a change. But if they knew this, why did they stay quiet? Idiots.
Because of all the heat.
That's stupid.
But the extension lasts until 2030, so Hubert Davis ain't going anywhere. And they're playing a little bit better. I mean, the ACC isn't the toughest league, but they did pick up a couple wins here the last few times out. Also, a college football note: Tennessee cornerback Ricky Gibson has plans to enter the transfer portal this spring. One of Tennessee's defensive backs. So we've got that out there. Also, we talked about the tush push yesterday. The Packers want it banned. Nick Sirianni came out and said that it's unfair to the Eagles if the tush push is banned.
Okay, let's get 30 seconds. Kelly, I think this needs to be thrown out of football. What say you?
Philadelphia does it really well, George, so they're going to be upset, and nobody else can do it. I hated it. I hated the quarterback sneak. I broke my leg on that thing. I'm just over it, but it's a weapon for those guys, and I don't know. I've said this before. It kind of goes back to the old days of playing football with guys in leather helmets. They get in that scrum and they push, and that's kind of what it is. I don't know what they'll do, but I think sentiment is, I know the Philadelphia Eagles fans do not want it, and not want it banned, and I know the Eagles don't want it banned because it's a huge weapon. Because it's like, I wonder. I'm sure they're in the high 90% rate of converting those tush pushes.
Oh, it's probably more like 95. Billy, we done?
Yep.
Okay, after the break, on a day where we've got a lot going on, Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville. Then a guy that's got a resume that is unbelievable. Great basketball player, played for Bobby Knight, played in the NBA, got into politics. Kirk Haston, Perry County's finest, will join us around 3:50. So a lot in a short amount of time. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Happy home game day, Preds fans. The Predators play Game 3 of their 4-game homestand tonight at 7 against the Florida Panthers in Smashville. Pre-game radio coverage begins at 6, then Pete Weber and Jay Moore have the call at 7.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Well, as most of you know, Tennessee got a huge road win Saturday in College Station, Texas. When you go to A&M, expect a rock fight because there's a mental toughness to Buzz Williams' program at A&M, but Tennessee not only matched it, but topped it by a little bit. And with that in mind, that's kind of where we're going to start today with Tony Basilio, who joins us by phone from up in the Knoxville area. Tony, how are you?
George, doing great. Hope you're well, and always good to hear your voice, my friend.
Hey, same on this end as well. So I got to believe the post game was a pretty happy deal. That is an enormous win.
We were really, really, really shocked. In fact, there's some shocking news that hit the Vols out of the transfer portal just a little while ago in corner Ricky Gibson, who's starting cornerback going into the transfer portal, with the other corner, George, being on the shelf right now after having a knee surgery. So Tennessee might have to replace two corners. But back to the hoops front, George, that was a shocking win. In fact, I basically penned that one into the loss column because you don't go there and win. But Tennessee had a great defense against those guys. They basically dared them to make threes. They made some early. And Chaz Lanier, the Nashville product, went absolutely off for the Vols in the first half and allowed them to take a slight halftime lead. And from there, it was the Zakai Ziegler show down the stretch. Here's a little piece of trivia for you. We were talking about on my program today, George, which is that Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak are going to leave Tennessee, setting a record that you can only tie, you can't break. There are 20 AP polls a year. Those guys will leave UT having been ranked, their teams, in 80 of 80 AP polls, George. Is that any good?
Good Lord. Now, you talk about stat of the day.
Wow.
Dang. 80 out of 80. That's strong. That's what that is. That is strong.
And both guys are really, really winning players. Both guys will do whatever to win games. I mean, the Meshack guy basically sacrificed his offense to be the defensive glue guy, and winners. That's what those guys are. Winners who have won a lot of games, and it's pretty, I guess, not ironic that both those guys figured big time in the result on Saturday.
So, Tony, we're far enough along in it to be able to say, boy, on the nights that Chaz Lanier goes off the way he did Saturday, that team feels like a 1 seed that nobody in their right mind wants to play. When they get to the NCAA tournament, what level of teams do you think they can beat when Lanier is not on his A game?
See, I think that's a great question. I look at this team and I think they're capable of a loud march. And by that, George, I mean something really loud in a good way or a really loud thud at the end of the year. Because, like tonight, for instance, tonight for them and a team of their caliber should never be a losable game. You're playing the bottom of the league, sleepy, 9 o'clock Eastern time start. You got to generate your own energy in games like that. I don't think there will be a ton of people there. And the women are out drawing the men down there right now, by far, at LSU. And, George, this team's capable, this Tennessee team, they're capable of losing to those guys tonight. Because, as you said, when you're not making shots, it's very difficult for them to get shots when they're not making shots. So
that's a great point.
That is
because Lanier in the first half had about 20. I mean, felt like he had 40 every point for Tennessee.
He was out of his mind.
But you're right, Tony. Without that, does Tennessee win that game without that burst in the first half?
No, but that's the way these games go. I mean, A&M had 3 or 4 guys Tennessee essentially left open who hadn't made shots all year that were making shots. So the nature of that game, and that's what makes March so great, is that if you make your shots, you're a really good coach. And if your team's not making your shots, you're a March choker. And that's what's going to be wild about this upcoming tournament. Because truly, Tennessee has legitimate chances we enter today for a number 1 seed. This is the deepest into a season that I can ever remember legitimately thinking this team could be a number 1 seed. Now, they were not helped last night by that result of Houston winning at Texas Tech. But Alabama comes to town Saturday. Guys, that is going to be wild in Knoxville. And it's going to, so basically you've got Tennessee, Florida, and Houston all jumbled in a mix trying to get 2 of the remaining 4 Final Four slots.
See if you buy this. Of the 300 and whatever the number is, 350, 360 Division I NCAA basketball teams that are out there, there are less than probably 8 that could go to A&M and win.
Yep.
Kind of like Houston. I mean, I think that's how good a win I think that is. A lot like the University of Houston. When Texas Tech went down there and beat Houston, that was the most shocking thing I had seen all year. I'm not saying that Tennessee's is a shock, but it's a hell of a win when you go to A&M. I guess that's what I think of A&M.
It was a shock to me, George. And the thing is, A&M has both Buzz Williams and Rick Barnes at their current stops have become strangle the game coaches, which is what we're seeing now. Because the guy at Houston's the same way. I mean, it's hard to watch, but when you step on the court with those guys, you better bring the intensity because they're going to bring it at you. And that A&M bunch, literally, if we were having a snowball fight and choosing sides, I'm not sure I'd want those guys on my team because you'd be getting hit in the back of the head with snowballs. Those guys can't shoot anything. I mean, they almost miss on purpose. Fran Fraschilla had a really good number the other day. He said these guys are next to the bottom in first shot efficiency in the country. We have such a thing now, first shot efficiency. But they're 330 or 340, whatever the number is. They're next to last in that number. That's dreadful for a Division I team.
Yeah.
And then you think about it, and in second chance efficiency, they lead the nation. Their whole thing is predicated on outworking you on the boards. Tennessee, that was a workable number. The Vols only got beat by 10 on the boards by them and only gave up 10 second chance points. That, if you do that to A&M, you're going to beat them most times, which is exactly what the Vols did.
And if some of you did not hear Billy's update on Saturday when Tennessee plays host to Alabama, ready for this, Kelly?
Yep.
Dickie V will be in the house, baby. I'm a PTP player.
Oh, gosh, George.
Along with maybe Jimmy Dykes, Tony. It might be a three-man crew with him and Ravage. You like that?
Well, I mean, Jimmy Dykes has 15 SEC teams getting in. I mean, he puts the shill in Harvey Schiller, that poor guy. And, I mean, what are we going to do? And Jimmy Dykes has moved here, guys, because his daughter's a cheerleader now. And so he's a native Knoxvillian, as we like to say. But it's going to be a great atmosphere in the building on Saturday. It really is.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed this season as much as any in recent years because the SEC is stacked and packed. And anytime you turn a game on, I don't care who's playing. I don't care. Like, I've watched a ton of Vanderbilt games this year. I don't care who's playing. They're all really solid basketball games.
And 90% of them damn near go to the wire or have one or two possessions late that ultimately decide which group's going to win. Kelly, the floor is yours.
If you're in a snowball fight, you want me on your team there, Big Tony. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt about it. You're my first pick.
Hey, I told them guys the other night when we had our banquet and we were talking. I told them guys the other night when we were at a banquet and we were talking to the kids, we had a little chalk talk. I told them at 51, I can still hit a flea off a fly's tail. You know what I'm saying?
And do you know what
And they were
Kevin
like-
Dyson turned to me and said? I turned to Kevin. I said, where the hell did that come from? And you know what he said? Fayetteville.
That's right. Hey, so it's funny how we talk, and we talked at the beginning of the year, and they just keep winning. Like Tennessee can't shoot the ball. If Chaz Lanier's not scoring, and he scored the other night, but like. Just like you said with the Meshack kid and the Zakai Ziegler kid, they've won all these games, and it just feels like that this Tennessee team just finds a way to grind it out and win.
It's what winners do, man. It's what winners do. What's sad is the expectation when they get on the floor in the regular season is they're going to do that. But when they get on the floor in the postseason, you have a level of fear about it. It's a very interesting thing. I was listening to a hockey podcast, and they were talking about this Hallebuck guy, who's the goalie for the Jets, who goalied the Preds the year after they won the Stanley Cup, went to the Stanley Cup final. He was incredible in that series, if you guys will remember. Well, anyway. There's an expectation on him that in the playoffs, he's not going to play well. But in the regular season, you're not beating that guy. This Tennessee team deserves to be a 1 seed. They deserve to finish this thing. They've had a really incredible year in this league. This league, you get no nights off. No nights off, including tonight. But if they go 2-0 this week, that will leave them with a trip to Ole Miss, and then South Carolina in their building left. Every team since 2014, if Tennessee even went 3-1, every team since 2014 has been a 1 seed. with Tennessee's profile. The problem is this year there are 6 teams at the top that have a line of demarcation between them and the rest of college basketball. Tennessee right now is the first number 2 seed. Guys, they could lose every game from here. They could go 0-5 and still comfortably would be on the 2 line. That's how big the gap is between the top 6 and everybody else.
So I know you're obviously not on the same lines as Jimmy Dykes with 15 teams, but later on in the season, and we're getting close to March Madness, how many teams do you think the SEC will get in? Because surely I think they're going to beat the record. I think the record was 10 by the Big East way back when, but surely you think they're going to get more than 10, correct?
12 or 13 is going to be the number.
Okay.
Here's why. And the reason is they're in other leagues, you cannot simulate for the computers what an Arkansas beating, who they beat over the weekend. They beat, Missouri. You can't simulate that, what that win means to you. You can't simulate an Oklahoma beating one of the halves in the league. And in this league, you get an opportunity when you're a Vanderbilt. You get an opportunity for so many of them. When you're a mid to back bubble team, you get so many scratches at a lottery ticket, and all you need is one. This isn't jumbo bucks where you need 4 matches. All you need is 1 match or 2 matches, and that can be a winning lottery ticket for you to get into the deal. I mean, Texas over the weekend had a disastrous loss to South Carolina. Texas is still probably going to get in. Now, I don't know that Rodney Terry's going to be there next year. As I told you guys, I think that's one of the teams that's going to come after this Byington guy from Vanderbilt, is my information. And I don't think Rodney Terry's going to be there next year. But maybe the guy from Oklahoma as well probably doesn't make it, even if they make the tournament. But it's just the kind of year it is in the league. I mean, when those teams win a game against one of these upper echelon SEC teams, it is a resume maker. It is an absolute resume maker.
Tony, do you think?
Kelly,
Tony,
I'm totally with him on the Texas coach. Not going to be there for long, just for what it's worth. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony, do you think that Auburn is still the cream of the crop? And I'm getting at this because I don't know, like the last couple of years, if you look at it nationally, Connecticut kind of was the deal. I mean, they were complete. I'm not sure that Auburn's that complete. Are they still the kind of the cream of the crop here?
Yeah, they are, but they're not that caliber of team. I mean, they're going to be beatable when the tournament begins. They're going to be absolutely beatable when the tournament begins. Speaking of Auburn and Duke are the two that are way out in front of the pack, but I'm not sure either one of those teams is what you call untouchable. Whereas last year, Connecticut and Purdue were on a collision course with each other. There was very little doubt about that. I'm not sure you can say that this year.
With the young man, let's go to football. With the young man, you were talking about the DBs last year and had an incredible year still, but you had a DB leave. What is that? What impact does that make? Because somebody wrote up on our screen, "Hey, I thought he got paid pretty good, but he's leaving now." So how does that affect the football team?
The story is he wants more money because Jerron McCoy hurt himself, and Ricky Gibson wants his bag increased. And Kelly, I don't know. You tell me. If you're Tennessee and you're sitting there without corners right now, going into spring practice, which they're sitting there without corners.
Yeah.
Do you belly up to the bar and pay him and show the rest of the country that, hey, I'm up to be hijacked? Or do you tell him to get on with his life's work? And I'm asking, it'll be a topic on our show tomorrow. I don't know how I'd play it because that's the nature of things. They had to deal with that kid, but apparently a deal's not enough because somebody got in his ear and said, hey, obviously somebody somewhere got in that kid's ear and said, hey, man, what are you doing? Or somebody somewhere along the lines tampered with him. But it's weird that he would say now, hey, I'm going into the portal, and they haven't even had spring practice yet. So what I haven't figured out is, and what I haven't determined is he going to leave the team? Because if he leaves the team, then, then he's almost a holdout at that point, right? From an NFL standpoint, he's like a camp holdout at that point.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I don't know how to answer that, Tony. That's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer that. Like, if you're a coach, if you're Josh Heupel, like and I know how I would probably be about it, because if you're in it for money, then it's probably not going to work out for you. But that's what all these kids are in it for now. So how do you talk to a guy when he comes in and sit him down and say, hey, we're giving you this. You're one of the key components on this team. If you do this and you take your money, then, if you play well and you do what we think you can do and you grow and you get better on the field, then you're going to get looked at by the next level. And I don't know how you do it as a coach, Tony, but it's a tough situation for these guys to be in. It honestly is. I sit around sometimes and just think about that, because I'm not sure how they're going to do it or how they do it, because the kid's coming for money. That's what he's wanting. He's wanting more money. Well, is money more important, or do you want to play football? So I don't know. It's just a tough deal, and we're in that time.
And if I let you hijack me, which is what this is,
yeah,
then the message is they're easy marks over there at Tennessee.
Yep.
But if I let you walk, the message is they're cheap over there at Tennessee. Look at that. They just let a starting corner go. Because here's the thing, McCoy had an ACL surgery, knee surgery, and they're hoping to get him back in 8 months. Now, Kelly, you've been around high-level, high-performance athletes all your life.
Yep.
I tell the fan base, if you think a guy's coming back from a knee surgery like that in 8 or 9 months, I say more power to you. More power to you. He'd be one of the quickest healers that's ever walked the face of the earth. To go out there, it's one thing to recover from that surgery in civilian life, but to go out there with world-class athletes and cut on a dime and trust your knee every time you do it, you better get me to the spring of the following year if you're thinking I'm going to do that. That's me. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you do it, man. It's tough. It's tough to come back, because you're never the same, especially if you're in college and you have a major surgery like that. You're never the same, and you are going to lose speed. That's just part of it.
And on the Tennessee front, what he was talking about, it's a no-win deal. You can't win no matter which way you turn in this. Tony, on Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep.
On Saturday, when Tennessee plays Alabama, it's a 3:00 Nashville time game, which probably means you would take to the airwaves around 5:30 our time, 6:30 your time. There's bound to be one person who heard you today who's like, man, I want to hear this guy. How do they do it?
That moron. They're probably going, God, listen to that moron. Why is he on there? Hey, George, listen, you're forgetting tonight. I'm going to be on for some Midnight Madness, my man.
Oh, I didn't even think about
that game tonight starts at 9. And it will be over around 11:15 Eastern time, George. And I'm getting too old for this blank, if you know what I mean. Fill in the blank. But I'll be on the night into the wee small hours of the morning, breaking it down scientifically and moving left or right across your device at tclub.team.
Unless you had a Chevrolet Citation, and then it looked like it was going up and down the radio dial.
No question. George, my first car was I told my kids I got a Vet when I was a kid. My son was like, really? I said, yeah, a Chevette.
Nice. Hey, appreciate it as always. I need to hear from you in the next few days. You know what I'm talking about.
George, my people are getting with your people as we speak.
You know what? That is going to be big.
Power couple of radio, power couple of the year over here.
Except
I've never seen George's people, Tony. I've never seen them.
That's the problem. I ain't got no people.
No, his team will come out at night, Kelly. I'll tell you that.
Was that right?
Man. Tony, you behave.
Yeah. See you, boys.
Talk to you. No, he's terrific. Tell you what else is going to be terrific. After the break, we're going to talk with former Indiana Hoosier Kirk Haston. Kirk is 45 years old. He has got one of the most full resumes for somebody that age I have ever run into. We'll talk to him next on 94.9 The Fan. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here. You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
You may have seen on Sunday, Indiana had a comeback for the ages, outscored Purdue something like 48-21 in the second half. And I didn't realize it. I watched the first half. Then, Kelly, we got in the middle of all our National Football Foundation banquet stuff. And so I didn't even realize that Indiana had just rolled on Purdue in the second half. That's a heck of a win.
Yeah, especially with what's going on up there. So, yeah, that is a heck of a win over your
Yeah.
in-state rival. So that's pretty big.
So our next guest has one of the most amazing resumes that I think I've ever been around or seen. He played his high school basketball at the legendary Perry County High School. And I say legendary, my buddy and former Vanderbilt legend, one of the all-time great shooters ever, Mike Rhodes, played there as well. Kirk Haston went on to play for Bobby Knight in the Indiana Hoosiers from 1998 through 2001. He was a first-round draft pick, the 16th pick overall of the Charlotte Hornets, played in the NBA for several years. And oh, by the way, Kelly, in 2019 became a member as a Republican of the Tennessee House of Representatives. How's that for a resume?
They're nice.
Let's say hello to Kirk Haston. I'm dying to have him on here. Kirk, it is a real pleasure to get you on.
I appreciate that. I've got a lot of friends that says that is a really, really regressive resume as you go. Like I peaked out to a lot of my friends. I peaked out at Perry County High School, but I appreciate the kind words.
Hey, tell me this though. Even though it's basketball, we're bringing you on here for. Did somebody talk you into politics? Was it something you had always thought about doing? Talk to me about that.
It was. I'll try to sum it up. I've told this story a few times to some groups that visit, some students that visit. But I tell a lot of groups I talk to, a lot of kids. I say it's really hard to be what you can't see, and I tell them all the time, whatever occupation you think you want to go into, or even one you don't think you want to go into, go experience it. And so I actually was on a field trip. When I was coaching and teaching, I was on a field trip as a chaperone with Perry County High School seniors, and went to the Capitol and watched the legislative session in action, and then went down on the House floor to just participate and sat on the House floor. And I remember sitting at a desk and arguing whatever topic our host had brought up that day. I think it was seat belts on school buses was what we argued that day. And I just was sitting there and I thought, this is where the action is. This is where it happens. All the stuff that I complain about, or all the stuff that we have concerns about, a lot of it just comes through this room right here. And so about 3 years later, the seat opened up, and I thought I'll just give it a shot. And long story short, when I got assigned my seat to get sworn in, I got assigned the exact seat I sat in that day on the House floor during that field trip, without anybody having any idea that was the seat I was at. So that was pretty neat to be there, and having my wife and my kids with me getting sworn in, and it really kind of the seed being planted on a school field trip.
How cool is that? So I got to ask this as well, because I feel like I know a lot through Coach Newton, who was one of Bobby Knight's assistants on the '84 U.S. Olympic team that won the gold medal.
Right.
How would you describe that experience of playing for him?
You know, it was complicated, but the whole reason that I wanted to go there was because I just felt like Coach Knight had an ability and a knack for getting the most out of the people that bought into what he was doing. And so, guys go in, and I think the ones that end up transferring or the ones that didn't like it, I don't think that they ever fully bought in. I don't think they fully, the advice that Calvert Chaney and Alan Henderson and all those guys that came back to talk to us, Isaiah Thomas, they would always tell us, like, don't listen to what Coach Knight is saying, listen to why he's saying it. And so once you got past the kind of how he delivered things and listened to the message, it wasn't always easy, for sure. But I just felt like that he just was going to get the most out of you if you bought in. And so that's why I went there. And I tell this to people all the time that I do think that there was a little bit of Dennis Rodman in Coach Knight, in that at some point, not to say that he didn't lose his temper, he did. But like a lot of times, what you saw on television was part of the show, and he knew it. He embraced it. And there was a couple times where on television you would see him just ranting and raving, and I guarantee you Dan Patrick on SportsCenter that night was, saying something about, look at Coach Knight losing his temper again. And then in the huddle, he'd be going up and down, yelling at the official. He'd come over, sit in the huddle as calm as can be, and been like, "Oh, Jack never has liked me since like Iowa in '87," or so he'd say something like that, and you'd just be like, and it would just be a switch. And he knew that. I mean, we go to Penn State and sell out Penn State. They weren't there to see Jared Jeffries and Dane Fife and Kirk Haston. They were there to see Coach Knight perform, So, I mean, he was going to give, and I think that's why a lot of times the referees didn't tee him up near as much as what you would have thought, because they knew that it was some performance art there to a certain degree, and he embraced it.
Kirk, in 1984, Coach Newton got a group of us, there were 4 of us that were there, tickets near the front row in the opening of the old Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. And the game was the Larry Bird All-Stars versus the United States Olympic basketball team. It was an exhibition on their way out to winning the gold medal in L.A. And I'll never forget this. About 2 minutes before the game, Coach Knight finally makes his entrance. And I'm telling you, it might as well have been the Pope. I have never seen an ovation. There were 68,000 people there. And at that moment, that was the largest basketball crowd in United States history. And he reveled in it. He absolutely ate it up.
Yeah. If you've ever been a WWF or WWE fan or watched any of these old, McMahon documentaries or wrestling documentaries, they talk about, pop in the crowd, and whether you're a baby face or you're a villain in wrestling, it's just like, do you bring some pop to the crowd? And Coach Knight, he had some pop in the crowd. Like, I mean, whether you wanted to see him, you wanted to be in the same building as him, whether you were a fan or you weren't.
So you've kind of heard me talk about Assembly Hall. I've never been there. It's one building that I have some regret that I have never gotten to see, but on TV, it looks like the coolest experience in the world. Talk to me about that arena.
Yeah, I tell you, the first time I ever went in, when I went for my visit, I'd gotten picked up at the airport, and it was late, and the assistant coach that picked me up said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Assembly Hall." And it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I said, "Okay." So we get there, and Coach Knight meets us there. So it's just me and this assistant coach and Coach Knight, and we go into Assembly Hall, and I don't know who else they had there, but like we go out in the court, and then they just turn the lights on while we're on the court. At like 11 o'clock at night, just me and Coach Knight just standing on the court, and the first thing that when you see it in person that's really stunning is, like, on television you really just see kind of the bottom tier of seating. You really don't get a perspective of how big it is, because the seating is so steep, and I just couldn't believe the size of it and how and when it's filled. I played in a lot of loud arenas, and I've never been in one that when it was at its peak where you could be just right behind a guy at the free throw line trying to tell him what defense you're in, or try to say something and just be yelling at him, and they have no idea that you're talking to them. And it really is a special home court environment. I've never really experienced anything like it anywhere else.
Kirk Haston is on the line with us, former Indiana Hoosier. Kirk, I've got to pause. We got to be legal here, apparently. Like 10 seconds for station ID. Back at the station, hit it.
.9 The Fan. Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
We had to be legal. So, Kirk, ultimately, here's the question. Indiana's job appears to be open unless Mike Woodson makes a run that's deep, and then who knows what happens. Can it ever get back to Bobby Knight level?
I think it can. I think that I really do think that I think it's a powder keg ready to explode if it gets the right combination of ingredients there. And I think that it's been close a time or two, and I think there's some guys out there right now that who knows by now, like, every 5 minutes there's somebody on the list or off the list, and I think that some of the ones that I've heard here recently that I kind of lean towards is I think that, Scott Drew and Buzz Williams, and one other one that's kind of probably maybe a little bit further down the list on maybe the list of getting him in would be Shaka Smart. I think those are some of the names that I've really liked. Scott's got some good Indiana connections, and Buzz Williams has had kind of an unusual kind of like he's had two or three moves where it's been good moves, but been kind of lateral moves. Marquette and Texas A&M and I think Virginia Tech. But I don't know. Shaka Smart. There's something about and just the Smart name at Indiana. It's got some good vibes. But I think the fact that it's kind of unusual that I don't think he's used the transfer portal in 2 or 3 years. So that says something about the kind of players that maybe he's recruiting and developing, which I kind of like. But man, I do think that with the right combination, it really is something that could be something special again.
This is a remarkable person we've got on here. Kirk Haston, former Indiana Hoosier, is on the line with us. Former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb takes over. Kirk, all I can tell you is beware with Kelly.
Okay, fair warning.
Hey, George kind of took a little bit of my question, but I was going to ask this too. With all the NIL stuff and all the stuff that's going on, is like I can remember back when I was growing up in the 80s, I can remember the Keith Smart shot. I remember all those national championships, which was a cool time. And Indiana was kind of the it back in the day. But is it the same job as it was back then? And you just said it could be, but is it the same job now? Because, in today's world, you got to have money. And you got to be willing to disperse that money, but you got to get the money first. So is it the kind of job that somebody wants like it used to be?
I think so. And I can't believe it. One thing I'm getting ready to say, I didn't think I might ever say, but I really do think that Indiana's football success couldn't have come at a better time to help have Indiana have some basketball success, because it's really gotten the attention of a lot of important boosters and brought some people in. And like you said, Tony Kornheiser says it all the time on his podcast. The answer to all your questions is money, and laying that foundation of across the board, being able to put together a program, all maybe coming up at the same time, and maybe getting a little momentum, draft a little momentum off of football. I think could be a good timing for being able to bring in somebody that boosters could rally around and really buy into. And it is a totally different dynamic. I mean, you saw, you've seen a lot of coaches that have decided to move on that I think feel like it's just not the same game. And then you've got some that are kind of, got the personality for it and kind of can adapt, or in Calipari's case, probably been doing this for 20 years anyhow, this way. But I think that it can happen there. I really do.
So having been in politics, I've got to ask this question. The NCAA, which, sometimes it's a crap show with them, but they sent the NIL stuff to Congress, and they obviously, I'd heard from many people that they didn't think they were going to pass it. They just thought it was going to be business as usual, and then Congress passed it, which I've always said when I played college football, guys need something. It's great to get a scholarship, but you need something. And, but with the NIL the way it is, and we always talk about it on the show here, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the bottle. But do you think there's some legislative things that can be done? Because when you're starting to pay, there's a kid from that committed to LSU, and now Michigan got him for $12 million. That's going a little bit above and beyond. Do you think governments at some point will step in and say something about it?
Yeah, I think the NCAA made a lot of mistakes along the way by not trying to put some things in place early on, and now they're kind of running into what we run into a lot in state government, in that you'll have some situations where some local governments might want to do something, but they want to be able to tell their people that they're having to do it because they're being told that they have to do it from above. And so I think that you're right. I think that at some point there might be something that has to come in. I think years ago, one proposal I heard years ago back when I was playing was that, to start some sort of process of like, there's a fund there, and if you, once upon graduation, you can access those funds. And so if kids transferred or left early, didn't graduate, went to the NBA early, they wouldn't have access to it. But the ones that put in, a certain amount of years and graduated, and I think if they had just been a little proactive and had some foresight back then and started that process back then, it would have leveled up from there, of course, but it would have put us on a better pace than when it just kind of came in like trying to drink from a fire hose.
That's well said. Kirk, I got to ask one other thing. So did you ever, back when you were kind of, okay, basketball career is over, did you ever consider getting into college coaching?
It was something that I was really interested in for a while. And I guess one of the things I've told parents over the years that are talking about, like, I just really, I wish my kid would come back and live at home one day. I don't really want them to go away to college. And I said, if you want them to come back and maybe set up shop one day back in their rural hometowns, you better let them go now, because let them go out there. And what I kind of found myself after, spending time in college, of course, and then playing in the league for a little bit and going overseas, I found myself thinking, when I do have a family and get married, if you go with that college coaching route, you're a nomad. Like, if you're going to do it right, you really can't help. If you do it right and you succeed, you're going to be moving a lot, which is what we're talking about today with several names, maybe going to Indiana. And it just never did. It just never did really. It didn't entice me enough to kind of, be in at that point where I felt like I was going to have to be moving my kids around a lot. So I just decided to try to do something that was going to be a little bit rooted closer to home.
Hey, first of all, thanks for doing this. Tell Mike Rhodes I said hello, and check your phone. I've left you a message.
Okay, I'll do it. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Kirk, thank you.
Absolutely.
Pretty incredible resume. I mean, at 45 years old, Kelly, he's experienced a ton of stuff.
Absolutely. That's what I was, my wife and myself were driving to Valdosta. I said that about 3:00 in the morning the other morning. I said, do you realize how much you and I have done in our lives? I mean, we've been all over the country, all over the world. I mean, it's crazy. Driving at 3:00 in the morning trying to get to Valdosta. Crazy.
Okay, abbreviated show. We know that. We'll take a quick break. We'll see if we can get stat of the day, but certainly we will get plaster bet of the day. Very important on 94.9 Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. This is the most anticipated March Madness that we have had in a long time. There's going to be some great basketball, and the George Plaster Show has it all covered. Whether we take our show to your business or you simply endorse things like March Madness scoreboard updates or other features, we've got it all covered. If you want to be part of a big March Madness, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We can fit all of your needs, and we'll find out what your budget will allow. Whether we take our show to your business or you simply endorse things like March Madness scoreboard updates or other features, we've got it all covered. If you want to be part of a big March Madness, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We can fit all of your needs, and we'll find out what your budget will allow.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers, is what we're doing right now. We do have a quick out right now, so we can stall momentarily. But what do you want to talk about?
What did you just say? I have no idea what you're saying.
Did you just
We have an out in a minute. So unless you want to...
So we have 1 minute. Okay,
Yes.
Let's show them where I'm going tonight. Plaster bet of the day. It's vital. The community wants it. I'm taking Alabama tonight. I lost last night. That sucked. My record is 33-30. So, Kelly, I need to win tonight.
Who cares? Who cares, George?
Nice attitude. Boy, really nice to have you back. Like a hemorrhoid. He's hater. Oh, no. No, you deserve that for being so pathetically non-supportive of me.
But at least I'm upfront about it. Another thing I'm upfront about is I'm getting tired of people coming up telling me you're too hard on Billy. Well, when Billy leaves equipment, we're done with it, okay? That's why I'm hard on Billy, okay?
We're done. See you tomorrow.